And I think we are live. So I want to thank everybody for coming by again for season 2021, episode 7 of the 405 hashtag 405 live stream football show. And we're on episode 6. It's kind of crazy that we started this about a month and a half ago, and football is on our doorstep. We are in the parking lot, ready to get out and show our ticket stubs to get right into the stadium. As a reminder for everybody, my opinions are my own. It doesn't reflect my current workplace, doesn't reflect any opinions, anything like that. Tonight,
My opinions do reflect your workplace, though.
that's fine. That's okay. Your opinions can do that. Mine cannot. So tonight we're joined by Gavin, and again we're joined by Sean. Sean, you were off last week. How are you doing this week? Did you get hit by the hurricane?
What? No. I'm in Orlando. What are you talking about?
Did the hurricane not swing by?
No. I'm in Orlando. We didn't get hit by. I mean, we got rain, of course. We didn't get hit by crap.
Oh, I was under the impression that y'all got like some of the feeder bands or anything like that. So.
No, it was a weak tropical storm. It was just rain. It didn't do anything. No.
Well, there we go.
Y'all don't know about hurricanes. Like, you never will. It's just, you just won't unless you live here.
Exactly. I live in Oklahoma.
Last Sunday my PC was just roaring, and I started to do some backups or whatever. Long story short, it seems to be working okay right now. Like, nothing, but I'm still probably going to upgrade to a solid state drive this week because but it was just, it was a point where it was like, oh look, my PC is gonna crap out on me like 2 weeks for the season. Yay. But it's working okay at the moment, so still get a solid state drive though.
How much is that going to run you back?
Like $100? No, $100. They're really affordable nowadays. You can get a 1 terabyte for like $100.
Oh, good. I didn't realize that. I thought it was like 200 or 300. So, I mean, it's kind of funny because you recommended it a couple years back to me, and I finally got the commitment to get some new headphones. And gosh, they have been such a game changer, just for audio in general, but for everything. You were right. I was wrong. Let it be known on this live stream. I said Sean was right. Absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, I'm right about some things, not everything though, but
yeah.
I am. Yeah. And you're like, I'm asking you what's the topic for tonight. We're going to preview the season. It's like, and I'm not trying to burst your bubble. There is nothing less I want to talk about than previewing things. I have previewed so many things about this season and other teams, and that's why I keep putting off my quote unquote season preview video that I just don't want to do, because it's just more of the same things that are said every day, but I'll do it regardless because that's why we're here.
But I appreciate you being on. That's what matters. Gavin, how are you doing tonight, by the way, buddy?
I've been doing all right for the most part. Like I said, just things have been rolling up too. And I just want to give like a quick just say heads up though too, and this is just sort of a PSA. If anything, just kind of make sure that if you do go out or anything, just be courteous to one another, be kind, wear a mask, try to get vaccinated. Because right now the Delta variant's still going on, and it can still impact your lives one way or the other.
And you just lost any future viewers.
Bye, viewers. It's okay.
Anyone.
I'm used to talking in the void anyway.
Little hints, like I tried saying something like that once, and I got yelled at. I was like, you know what? Fine. All of you could just go off and whatever. Like, I'm tired.
If they have a problem with it, they can get over it. So, my live stream, my rules. So, regardless, we'll cover that again at the end for it. And it's important to know just in general, because a lot of the places are changing rules on COVID anyway for like entering into stadiums and stuff. I mean, Tulane, you have to show it, and that's not due to Tulane; it's due to the city of New Orleans and
because New Orleans is a petri dish right now.
I mean, Oklahoma's a petri dish too, but
it's just
yeah.
I am shocked we're having sports at this moment. It's amazing.
I am too. As a side note, I want to say thank you also to everybody who's in the room right now. 1982 Boomer Sooner, Boomer to you right back. And hello again, James. It's good to see you back on the live stream. So hopefully we'll be
Hello,
able to
James.
answer any of your questions you have for us or anything. To quickly answer, thank you again for digging the OU flag in the background, 1982. Honestly, I could pick out any autograph. They all mean something to me because it's something that makes me remember like an experience I had with a coach or experience I had with a player interacting with one. I do have one though. I do have one story I'll share. One of the stories was it was during I think it was the 2011-2012 season, and I went on Campus Corner with the flag to get it signed, and Mark Clayton was there. And I was like, "Oh, hey, Mark, it was good to meet you." And we were swapping stories, and he was impressed because it was like I'm known there as the OU flag guy, and they're like, "Oh, Mark, you gotta see this. You can't wait to sign this." So when I unraveled it, he was like, "Oh, I can't wait to sign this." Like he was super impressed by it. He's like, "Hey, want to try on my Big 12 championship ring?" I'm like, "Absolutely, I want to try it on." Best experience ever. That thing had to weigh at least 5 pounds. Like when you put it on your finger, your hand just dipped. It was fantastic. So if I have any fun stories like that, it's usually like those type of stories. Same thing with Trevor Knight. Trevor Knight was so fun to interact with and just chit chat with and have him see like pointing out players like I played with that guy. Oh, that was that guy I threw to. Like there's a lot. So to answer the question, I could pick every single one, but there's fun stories associated with each of them. So, but that's also why we're all here to talk football.
Yep.
And as Sean has said too, I keep it clean for him because if anything happens, him and my dad are gonna be fighting over that flag. Exactly.
And I'll be over here just grabbing a bowl of popcorn, just watching as the whole deal goes by.
Well, that flag is going to replace the flag that I have in my videos one day. That's what's going to happen. So.
Exactly. You've already got this planned out with it, and he gets a kick out of like talking who gets.
I mean, I'll have it framed and everything. At some point.
Mm-hmm.
That's the plan right now is for me to get it framed here very, very soon, so I can just take it in and out of a like a sun protected and UV protected frame. So if I want more signatures on it, it's just easy to put back.
You just need to Photoshop Bob's signature right there and just shrink it down, give you more space. Just to move it around a tad.
Well, that's the funny one is to this day, that is still the funniest signature because he was the first signature I got on there. And it was like, hey, Bob, hey, can you sign it? Sure. Whoosh. I'm like, oh, we're going to make sure we have the biggest signature on there. Okay, cool.
I mean, I don't think it's Bob Stoops' responsibility to know how many signatures were supposed to go on that flag. So.
But, it wasn't, but it was just cracks me up that it was just like I didn't expect it from Bob. I may have expected from like Barry or Boz or Roy Williams, like to have it because of the tradition,
personality,
or Bob. But yeah. So one of the things I did want to talk about tonight, though, was hopefully it's the last time you have to talk about it, Sean. But we're here. We're in week 0. We're in pregame mode.
I don't want to talk anymore. I want to watch football. I don't want to.
Well, what game are you looking forward to in week 0? I know there's not power games going on, but
there are none. Like people say, week 0 is like I could watch Nebraska struggle against Illinois, and that's about it. Like there are 5 games, and most of them none of you actually care about. You say you care about them, but unless you're like a Nebraska fan or UCLA fan or whatever, like none of you care. You're gonna be like, yeah, and like, oh. It's not like everyone like next the week after the Saturday after next is the one everyone cares about. You have Clemson and Georgia, you have Miami and Alabama, you got OU, kicking off the first game of the day on Saturday at Tulane on ABC, and then if you get bored of watching Alabama destroy Miami, you can watch Texas struggle to beat Louisiana. See, those are the games everyone cares about, wants to watch, at least from my point of view. I don't know of any other games off the top of my head. Those are kind of the games I pinned. I do watch along, so obviously OU Tulane is for sure. But I'm trying to figure out if I'm going to do like a dual watch along for Texas, Louisiana, and Miami, Bama. So that's kind of what I'm looking at right now.
Okay, so here's my question for you though. With week 0 though. Do you think Nebraska's going to win? That's the question. Or do you really think? Do you think they're going to cover the spread? Here's the question.
There's a spread. Like
yeah, they're favored by. They're
like
favored by
7 points.
I perfectly honestly have not given two you know what's about that game. Like I honestly, for real, if I could be doing anything else this Saturday besides watching Week 0, I probably will be doing it. And I love college football, I really do. But it's just I will, if there's anything else I could find to do, because you know why? It's gonna be the last Saturday I have of any kind of freedom for 4 months. That's it for 4 months. It'll be the last Saturday I have for any where I'm just like won't be stuck in a chair like all day doing what I'm doing. And don't get me wrong, I love doing it, but any freedom or flexibility is gone. So this Saturday, I'll keep an eye on Nebraska and I'll watch highlights, but I am not making it. It's not appointment television for me.
So are you one of those, Gavin? This is also a question for you as well. Are you one of those, you appreciate your football when it's on, but you do like a break? You don't like to like eat and breathe it like 12 months out of the year? Like
I would not want to
going on.
Yeah, I mean, my deal is that I don't want to like eat and breathe and consume it, 24/7, 365 days of the year. So too, I love it, to where I would say from August until you get to March, and then once after March, it's kind of a good
March.
Well, NFL.
And NFL. Yeah, but no, I mean that's kind of just for me personally though too. I mean it's like it's a good half the time of the year to where it's a good time to watch, but just you kind of have to have that breather in between if anything, because like, and I'm just say this like with the XFL or the AAF, just having it like 24/7, you'll just get easily burned out.
Well, you don't have to worry about those anymore.
Not for at least 2 years, because aren't they still trying to bring it back?
No, the AAF is dead and buried. That's never coming back.
XFL, on the other hand, though, I think if I remember Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, I think
don't just stop it. Don't do it. For the love of God, let it die. Just let it die. I don't want to see it ever again. It failed. Stop it.
Twice it failed.
Okay, hold on. I'm just going to say that that other time that it did fail, though, wasn't in their control. That was because of the virus that was going on.
Vince can't afford football leagues anymore. He has to pay Brock Lesnar all the money because he's scared that CM Punk is on AEW now. He can't afford it. He's frightened. He needs all of his money to keep whatever talent he has left. Because
I'm going to quote you. Isn't it Brock Lesnar's like seasonal appearance that he's only in like 4 episodes and then that's it? That we've blown the budget.
I can't. It's like, if you want to enjoy, I can't believe the Brock Lesnar is a part-timer season 6. You go right ahead and enjoy that. I'm gonna watch CM Punk and do his thing, and Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks and Orange Cassidy and Hangman Adam Page. It's like most of those guys I've named are not known WWE names, and it's great. Love AEW. Let's turn this into an AEW show. Let's talk AEW wrestling. I have thoughts.
Go for it, but I have no thoughts on it at all, except I saw that CM Punk came back.
I have no idea.
Those are the people they're trying to get, Josh. Those are the people they're trying to get. They're trying to get you to watch on Wednesday and Friday nights on TNT. Dynamite on Wednesdays, Rampage on Fridays. You too can be a professional wrestling fan once again, because CM Punk and, spoiler alert, Daniel Bryan, will go by his actual name, Bryan Danielson, will also be appearing in AEW very shortly, within weeks. And he'll be coming out to the final countdown. It coming. It's happening.
So what you're telling me is this is after the Avengers Infinity War and Endgame marathon that they always have on TNT before AEW.
I mean, hang on. There's like Ben Affleck action movies and stuff like that you can watch that are non-comic book related and whatnot. So
which one?
What's the one? Ben Affleck is like the accountant or something. Not the accountant, but I forget what his name is. Anyway, the point is, there's like a Denzel Washington action movies where he's bald and shoots people with a gun.
Do you know how much that narrows it down?
Ready Player One is on sometimes before Dynamite. I know it's a terrible movie, but
That's a terrible movie.
I
It's a
know
terrible book too.
I know it's very, very terrible. Once again, our thoughts turn to Star Wars.
Yeah.
But-
Now, speaking of that, actually, you may reminded me of something. I'm actually disappointed in something from this past week that I could not get and purchase it in time. I'm really disappointed that they released the Game of the Century gear, and I couldn't get one of the OU Disco hats in time. They sold out fast. It just came to me, and I was like, oh, I have to express my disappointment.
Well, you have to go
Yeah.
you have to go to a physical store in Oklahoma City somewhere to buy them.
Yeah, I've tried Academy and I've tried Dick's Sporting Goods. Neither of them, they're sold out. I'm going to have to go all the way to Norman.
I mean, I live in Orlando, so I don't have that luxury. And I on a whim said, let me see where those hats are. And it's like, we don't have any of those hats. I'm like, oh, well, that solves that problem. I was actually considering maybe I'll buy one of those hats because I don't love this logo, but maybe just to have one. And then it's like, wow, they're all gone. Because there's people out there who love that logo way more than me. I
want it solely because of Dusty from Twister. That's the only reason why I want that hat.
You two want to be part of the suck zone.
The suck zone. Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's the only reason I want it. I laughed. It was somebody on Twitter that said, man, we're really going all out for a game that we lost. Yeah, it's true. We should have won it.
Did you know that Oklahoma has not beaten Nebraska in a year that ends in a 1 since 1961?
Don't bring this cursing down on this.
In 1971, in 71 we lost, in 81 we lost, in 91 we lost, in 2001 we lost, and thank God we didn't play them in 2011, or else we probably would have lost. So, I'm just saying.
Don't you dare jinx it.
Look, I'm just saying there's a trend here, and years that end in 1 have not gone well for OU when playing Nebraska. I just listen, numbers don't lie.
Okay, Mr. Historian, then is years that one does OU crap the bed essentially.
Listen, we had you know what else is scary? We had a lot of hype in 2011. We were national championship bound in 2011.
Oh God, don't
and look, a year that ends in 1. So here it comes. Year and ends in 1. 2001, we had some hype too, remember? And then it all came crashing. Listen, years that end in 1 are not good for OU. They're just not.
But you're the one who said that you were buying into the hype.
Listen,
or you're into it at least.
Listen, we live in a different world than we did 10 minutes ago. All right, live in a different world. Things change.
Just pack it in, boys.
See, I watched Draft Day. I can quote Kevin Costner. It's all right.
Hey, that's more than I can quote for Kevin Costner.
Why am I here again? I'm trying to remember.
To fill the void of 13 days left before kickoff.
There's 13 days till kickoff? Ugh.
Yep.
Exactly.
I have totally derailed your stream, and I apologize to no one for it.
Not at all. That's 18 minutes of content that I am here for.
Yeah.
I'm impressed we made it that far. What up, Gavin?
All right. So, and this was something though. I know we were just talking about. We were going to be kind of talking about with the season and everything else too. I've been, looking in with Tulane a little bit, and I'm just going to say, with Tulane, it's kind of hard to really say what's really good or what's really bad with them though too, because it's kind of hard to really see, because it's in that, I don't want to say they're the best team or the worst team, but they're kind of in that mid sort of in that mid mate, in that mid level and everything, especially within being in the American. For the most part, it's kind of for where I'm seeing more than anything, to where if I had to look at that game right now between OU and Tulane right now, I can see them probably winning by maybe at least 3 to 4 touchdowns, at best, if anything. That's the only thing I can really see. I mean, I know, go ahead, Sean.
I was just saying, I'm going to do you a favor. I know you probably did some work and some research on Tulane. It's very appreciative. If this Oklahoma team is who we believe they are, I'm not looking at names or jerseys or positions or coaches. If OU is not up 35-3 at halftime or something like that, something's wrong. just being honest here.
Oh, they're going to
Like,
cover the spread, absolutely.
yeah.
Unless something is a meltdown mode or they're just off the
Oh,
entire game.
was Las Vegas kind enough to give a spread? What is it?
Yeah, I think it's 26.
Yeah. So as I said, if we're not up 35-3 at half, and we're not covering the spread very easily, something's wrong. That's just me being very blunt about it. We're not going to have a real football game. I guess Nebraska is a real football game. I was going to say till conference play, honestly. I think
I would say, I'm going to give you one, Sean, even better. We're not going to have a real game till Kansas State. I'm going to go that far and say Nebraska is not going to be a tough game, and West Virginia is not going to be a tough game either.
Listen. Like what I'm saying is like I'm not trying to tell you that like teams are going to be super tough or anything. What I'm saying is that it's things are going to feel like a scrimmage to me until we get to conference play. That's just how it feels, because Western Carolina is going to be on pay-per-view, and everyone's going to say they paid $50 for it, but lie and watch an illegal stream or go to a friend's house, or go to the game if they can.
My dad offered me tickets to go to the game.
I mean,
no.
It's a free scrimmage. You can go watch it. But it's just, I'm being very spoiled and arrogant here, but I just feel like Oklahoma's not going to have we're not going to walk into a game. We're going to walk into Nebraska, and it's going to be all nostalgia goggles, and everyone's going to break out the old footage, and everyone's going to be real excited, and then we'll probably beat Nebraska's brains in. We'll hang half 100 on them and call it a day. Because I think that Scott Frost is in a world of hurt right now. But
you are not wrong there.
But,
I mean,
he's
the one. It came out that he's the one that wanted to cancel the game.
Well,
everyone suspected it, but it's kind of confirmed now that he wanted to cancel it.
But West Virginia is going to feel like a game to me, not like a game where, oh my God, it's going to come down to the bitter end. But it feels like we've had some fun games at West Virginia where we've had some hard hitting games, and people get in that game. We have fun with West Virginia. So, and then, everyone will point to the K-State game. Like, it's like, you lost 2 in a row. Thanks, YouTube commenter. Without your help, I would not have remembered that. Thank God you're here.
I would probably go to another interesting battle though too. And I'm going to say that Baylor game is going to be the one I want to keep an eye out on, because you know how they do against us with our GT counterpool, like you talked about earlier, Sean.
Well, I mean, we'll see how they are at that point in the year with Dave. We'll see how healthy they are and everything. But
and let's not forget like that we have a bye week before Baylor, and even though I don't like having a bye week that late in the season, I think it's the best time it's going to happen, and I think that we'll have to be worried about is actually playing at Waco.
I mean, OU's going to win that. OU's going to win that game. They'll be fine. It's just at the end of the day, it's like our schedule really sucks. It just does. There's no getting around. There's really no getting around it. And I said this like in a video like earlier, like last week, and I'm like, and some people make fun of me for it, but whatever. I really believe Oklahoma has to go undefeated. Like they can't lose a game this year. Like, I know they've gotten in before with a loss, and I understand that, but there's always like circumstances to why they got in. I can point to you why they got in every time they had a loss, because 2015, the last 3 games of the year were all ranked opponents, and thankfully, like Stanford beat Notre Dame, which really, because that was a game that they desperately needed, along with winning out. No conference championship game because that was hanging over their heads. Then you go to 2017. I mean, OU lost to Iowa State, but they had the Ohio State heat shield going their way. And so they got we don't have that heat shield this year going into playing a big non-conference opponent, one that matters. Like, oh, you went to Columbus and beat Ohio State. You have our attention. We don't have that this year. I mean, we thought Nebraska might be top 25 if Scott Frost was the coach we were all led to believe he was. And Turns out he's not. So,
well, there's a flip side to that, though. Not with Scott Frost with it, but we have that later in the season, though, with Iowa State.
I'll get to that momentarily, but 2018, we needed, we still needed the SEC championship to go our way. We needed Alabama to beat Georgia, and that almost didn't happen. It also helped Kyler win the Heisman, so you had that going for you. And 2019, we needed like Oregon or Utah to. Who was it that we needed we needed Utah to lose. Utah was like the team. Oh my God, Utah's defense. Utah's so good, and then thankfully Oregon beat, no. It's like Utah lost to somebody or Oregon lost to somebody. We needed a Pac-12 loss. It escapes.
Oregon lost to Arizona State.
Yeah. That was another one. It's like the Pac-12 was like, oh crap, we're in trouble here. But that went our way, and despite despite a loss that we had to K-State, our first in this little streak here, we were able to get in. So it's just one of those things where you have Oklahoma, you have Ohio State, who's like all these other teams get benefit of the doubt. Ohio State does, Alabama does, Clemson and Georgia. Whoever wins that Clemson-Georgia game is going to have that heat shield. Like even if they lose, they'll get a little bit of heat. Well, they say Georgia loses to Clemson, lost to Clemson. They're still in the playoff race. Just if they win out, they beat an undefeated Bama in the SEC championship, like with one loss, they're in. And so is Bama, by the way, too, because that'd be their only loss would be to Georgia, who lost. The narrative is there. 2 SEC teams. Boom. There's 2 spots already in there, and they got Clemson, and they got Clemson, who, if they win that game, which I think is likely, Clemson will win that game. The way things are going with Georgia's injuries, you have Clemson, who's going to stop them right now? Regular season ACC, because they don't play North Carolina, they don't play Miami, and so their only real test, if you look on paper, is maybe the ACC title game against North Carolina, or it could be Miami. You don't know. Who knows how? Because like those two got to battle it out and figure out who's going to win that division. So you got Clemson to deal with, who will get benefit of the doubt despite all the players they're missing. Teams that have won natties and have done well in the playoff will get benefit of the doubt. So you got that going against you. And who else? Who else knows who's going to pop up and be a contender and get in the way? So it's not going to be great for Oklahoma to lose to teams in a conference that have been crapped on within the past months, where no other Power 5 league seems to want them at the moment. Or you don't hear, oh man, can't wait to get Iowa State in our league. Can't wait to get Kansas up, Texas Tech. You're not hearing any of that. So the narrative is already forming how bad the Big 12 is right now. That's the narrative we've built. That is the bed we sleep in for the 2021 season. Oklahoma is being built up as, finally, is this the team that can finally break through and win a playoff game? Texas is just Texas. Now, you talk about the Iowa State game, and everything's building toward that late November Iowa State game in Norman. And I'm here to tell you, nothing is guaranteed in life, especially that game. In a perfect world, that would be a top 5 matchup. Great. Hope it is. It could be a Spencer Rattler Heisman game. The perfect season we're all dreaming of. Iowa State still has to do something that Oklahoma needs to do and win their games too. They can't lose early seasons to some non-conference. They can't lose to Iowa. They have to beat Iowa. They need to beat Iowa. And then they can't drop a game to Oklahoma State or Texas or whoever. So Iowa State, they return 20 starters. They returned like 20 starters from a team that beat Oregon in a Fiesta Bowl and came this close to winning a Big 12 title. So all I'm saying is, it's like oh, it's obvious. I'll go undefeated. Of course you get in. It's like, yeah, but who knows what the narrative will be spun? Because if this team drops a game, this team is getting all the hype, all that love, and all that support will be taken away just like that. Because Oklahoma, they're not what we thought they were. That defense with Alex Grinch, they couldn't make a stop in the fourth quarter when they needed to. Spencer Rattler couldn't complete a pass on third down. Whatever the narrative is, that's what they're going to base it on. And who in the Big 12 is a good loss? Like right now it's Iowa State, but you don't want to lose that game. You can't afford to lose that game. I don't care what Heather Dinich said about a month or two ago. Oklahoma and Iowa State can both make the playoff. No, they're not. I don't buy that for a second.
It'd be one of them at best.
Now look, here's the thing. Clemson could have a 2 or 3 loss year or Georgia that could happen to them. I don't think the two teams that are just mega loaded, like, or 3 teams. It's Bama, Clemson, Ohio State. And if Georgia's healthy, they're also loaded as well. Like, those rosters are loaded. That's where we're dreaming to be. That's what we're so close to being there with the way recruiting is trending for Oklahoma. We're about to be one of those teams that is loaded. Like, the depth you see on defense now, we're trying to make that a regular thing, not just this is the year. This is the year we're going to do it. I'm not saying you're going to be 3 deep at every position, but at least 2 deep. You want to be at least 2 deep at every position.
And that's something I actually wanted to ask both of y'all for. That was looking at the defense with the starting lineup that's expected from it. Is there any particular area with the defense that you're kind of worried about? I think Sean and Gavin, you both have mentioned Pat Fields as the free safety. Probably
somebody take his job, please.
Yeah.
That, like, with him, he'd be the one that's kind of the circle. And I think Turner Yell was the other one.
They're both starting week 1. I promise that.
Well, I don't expect them to be taken out until at least West Virginia at that point, if not Nebraska. So I guess my question is who are the ones on defense that you're – because I think the front 7 are doing great at this point.
Well,
with it.
I'm not worried.
Safeties.
I'm not worried about the defense. It's just – here's the thing about these first few games. And as I said, the schedule, in my opinion, is very weak, which I don't think – it's like 55th in the nation or something like that.
Yeah, it's not power. It's not. It's average at best.
Yeah, and to be fair, it's kind of like what our schedules have. Our schedules have been up in the 20s or 30s at times, but on paper, it doesn't look great.
Right.
Listen,
right.
If there is any position on the field right now that is like, ooh, that might be a problem, you have, in my opinion, 3 or 4 games to get them worked out. So whether you're concerned at safety, it's not like we don't have options. Okay, Pat Fields and Darian Turner, whatever reason, are not getting it done. It's time to give Key Lawrence a look. It's time to give Bryson Washington a look. If for some reason any corners aren't working out, I don't think they will, but all right, Justin Harrington, it's your time to shine, or whatever. It's like, Woody Washington, you are a flash in the pan. Let's give someone, whatever. I'm not saying that. Don't quote me. I'm saying Woody Washington sucks. I'm not saying. I'm just giving an example. The one area, the one area they're still trying to figure out, my opinion, which I think it's offensive line. I've said before, it's not the talent's not there. It's like, all right, the feeling is Anton Harrison, Andrew Rame's going to be your center. Your guards are going to be Marquise Hayes and Chris Murray, and your right tackle at the moment is Tyrese Robinson. It seems. Like, where's Wanya Morris? It's like, well, you give Wanya's a little dinged up or whatever, or he needs a little bit more work, but whatever. Everyone's like penciling in certain people. Is like, well, hold on, because Tyrese seems to be the guy at the moment. We'll see what happens at Tulane. We'll see who gets put out there. But as I said, you'll have a couple games to get a feel for those guys. But unfortunately, this is a situation where when are they going to get tested? And they're probably certain positions on the line are not going to get really tested till probably Texas, because despite how I feel about Texas, they're still going to have some talent somewhere. Their D-line is obviously the greatest thing ever, or their O-line is just complete utter trash. I'm going to, err on caution and say it's the latter, because that O-line, oh my God, that Texas offensive line is in trouble.
What? Yeah. Based on that, the side note, who did you say that was probably going to be our center again?
Andrew Ram.
Okay, that's who I had listed. Yeah, I wasn't sure if that was who it was with it, but do you think Robert? I think it's Congle would be better, or Ian?
No.
Ram would be the guy to go.
Okay. Now the only thing, I'm looking on it as well, mentioning all that as well with the O line. It makes me think of the running backs. Right now, they're saying Kennedy Brooks would be the starter, and I'm going to disagree with that. I think Eric Gray's going to.
Who is saying that? No one's saying that. I don't hear anyone saying that.
I'm looking just based on what the expected depth chart's supposed to be with it, and they had Kennedy A. Brooks as 1, Eric Gray as 2, Marcus Major as 3, and then Trey Bradford as 4.
That's totally wrong. No,
I could see Graham Brooks switching now because have the Lightning, and then have the Thunder with Kennedy Brooks. So that's the only thing I can maybe.
Well, those are your two backs. Those are going to be your two main backs. As for whoever has Marcus Major third is insane because there's still questions about whether he's going to play or not. Trey Bradford. Trey Bradford is probably going to be your third by default. I think Marcus Major is going to be fine. From trying to sift through the rumor mill, it sounds like he's just retaking a class and he has to finish it, and no one's expecting him to screw it up, because if he does, he's frankly a moron. Like, they handhold you through college if you're a football player. If you can't pass certain classes, there's nothing you can do. You're just basically, you are trying to fail. So
what you're telling me that underwater basket weaving is not like the most hardest class you've ever taken?
It's a real degree, don't get me wrong, but they had like an HBO Real Sports segment about it. But no, it's just, if you have to actually actively try to fail in college as a football player. So, I don't know. But no, Eric Gray looks like to be is the guy. I mean, you watch him; he showed some great flashes in the spring game. But him and Brooks are going to be your two main backs. And overall, I think receiver is going to be fun to watch. H-back and tight ends going to be fun to watch. So,
Gavin, what were you going to say?
Let's see. Well, I was just going to say, if anything, though, too, like, I feel like with Gray and Brooks, it's almost like basically like with 2016 with like how we had with P. Ryan and Mixon, for the most part, though, too, to where we have that sort of Thunder Lightning combination that we had with Mayfield, back in 2016, and that's kind of like how I've said from my interpretation, too, because Brooks, he's not like as strong as P. Ryan, but he has sort of that, that great body strength, if anything, while Gray has more of that like elusive speed and agility and everything, to where it just has that sort of a similar feel to it.
Gotcha. Now, here's a question that I had to. Where do you think Caleb Kelly is going to end up on this? Do you think he's going to be a starter, or do you think he's part of the rotation?
Man, the thing is, and with Caleb Kelly, is that, I am just don't know, because I'm just looking according to what I'm seeing, though, too. Like, would you put him over
Asamoah starting?
Yeah. I mean, and the thing is, and this is kind of like how I said, though, too. I mean, Kelly's been dealing with injuries for how many years now that he has?
His whole career.
Yeah, and I feel like, if anything, too, to just basically put him out there on the field, at this point,
Kelly played in Bob Stoops' last game as head coach. That's how
long I know that.
That's how long he's been here.
Okay, I know that. But
isn't the joke? Who was the Ohio State player, the quarterback that was always there? That's our player with Caleb Kelly at this point. He's just been there forever and a day. I forgot, but
JT Barrett.
JT Barrett, yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
The rumors are JT Barrett's still on the bench.
Anyway.
So
I just think, if anything, in my opinion, where, I mean, Kelly might be there, I would see him more as maybe like a student assistant coach or whatever, is sort of my deal. But as a player, I just really don't know if he's going to be able to get the time in there.
Oh, he's
for
the
most part. Now he'll have he'll have the leadership and everything there, yes, but I just don't see him being above Asamoah. That's sort of where I.
Well, Grinch rotates guys. I mean, it's not like, if he needs to give guys a blow on the sideline, that includes linebackers too. I mean, he's going to rotate that front seven. That's the beauty part about all of this. Like, Asamoah needs to if I need to get on the sideline and get a Gatorade, get some water in my system or whatever. You can put Caleb Kelly out there and everything will be fine. There's different packages there too. So you got to remember that it's like, is Deshaun White going to be your starting inside, or is it going to be David Agwebu? How do you keep Agwebu off the field? Well, I mean, there's going to be certain situations where you spell guys or you switch out for different packages. It's going to I'm not worried about playing time for these. Whoever starts, to me, on this defense is somewhat irrelevant to me, because this is kind of the world this is the type of like depth we've built. This is what Alex Grinch has been building since day one, and now he finally kind of has it. So Perion Winfrey is gonna, he's not gonna like these guys aren't gonna play 80 snaps a game. That's not gonna. That's what got us in trouble.
Yeah.
Like over the years, we would get against elite teams, and like everyone's gassed by the end of the game. We can't stop anybody, and of course it comes that you got to hold your breath and pray that Oklahoma State quarterbacks overthrow wide open wide receivers in the end zone that would have won the game, like in 2017. So
it reminds me of the Army game with that as well, with it where they were so fast at that point.
That whole thing was ridiculous too.
Well, the thing is too is like you're going to get worn out though too, and then you also have like where you always say though too, like you have two different styles to where Army just wants you to have your defense stay out in that field as long as you can with that triple option defense. And I mean, it's like, I'm going to just say this though, too. It's like, I want to see, somebody, to find like one of the better defenses to defend that more than anything. I mean, you could probably look at some of the others though, too, but that OU team in that 2018, with that triple option defense, it was like, oh man, it's like,
well, Army figured that out too. I was at that game and they just figured out they could just sit on that ball for until the clock runs down and then snap the ball. Like they figured that out. And that was the only way you were going to beat OU. And they tried. They almost did it. So
anyway,
is there, Sean, for a quick one for you on the offense or the defense? Do you think we're going to see anything where it's going to be you're going to see a player start and you're going to see maybe a surprise that they're going to be like second string or they're going to be part of the rotation, I guess, with it both offense, defense, or special teams that you think we don't see coming? Is there, I guess what I'm asking is there a player that you think we should all circle and watch for at this point that they're making some strides?
I mean, on the defensive side of the football, like for a lot of guys that came in this year, don't expect red shirts. Like I'm talking about like the Ethan Downs of the world and stuff like that. I'm talking about oh god, who's the I just blanked on there's some guys who are going to like the Shane Witters of the world. The Danny Stutzman. Like Danny Stutzman is getting all this hype. A couple of guys who are like 3 stars on Rivals, but it's like everyone says no, these are diamonds in the rough. Pay attention. And these guys are flashing in practice. In old years, back in the old days, like it was like, oh, well, could these guys start right away as true freshmen, help right away? No, but they weren't quite good enough yet but they would still see some time. Like I think Kelvin Gilliam Jr. is a guy that's going to be quote unquote third on the depth chart, but man, you rotate him behind Ellison and P. Ryan, or I'm sorry, Perion Winfrey, excuse me, like P names.
Yeah.
Latrell McCutcheon's another guy. You're not corner. Like it's going to be hard to keep certain guys off the field. And again, I think Clayton Smith is another guy you might see. He was a 5-star rush end line. Everyone forgets about Clayton Smith too. It's like everyone's talking about Nick Bonita and everything. Clayton Smith's gonna get some plays too probably. So everything's on the table with this defense right now. So as for offense, it's you're going to see packages. You'll see packages for Caleb Williams. Now he'll get garbage time because believe me, first couple weeks there's going to be some garbage time. So you'll see Caleb Williams get some snaps, but because there's no point in like we're going to redshirt him and like why he's going to play 2 years and leave anyway if he's as good as advertised. So Caleb's going to have some stuff for him. Billy Bowman's a guy that I'm interested to see. I'm hearing he could be like he's going to be a guy on special teams. Billy Bowman. He's also fighting for that starting nickel spot with Jeremiah Gradell. And if Gradell like locks down that spot, you'll see Billy Bowman on special teams doing some stuff there. So I don't know. The guys I don't expect a whole lot. I think Jaleel Farouk is a guy that will, he'll get some snaps, but I don't know if he's going to be like a go-to guy because receiver is going to be loaded this year because we finally have Theo Weiss and Hazelwood healthy. And then you add Marvin Mims and then Mario Williams, who my God, like if you like, we can take the top off of defense with Mario Williams and his speed. Like, he's going to remind you a little bit of Hollywood. You know, he's 5'10", 165 too. So get ready for
Right.
if you want some flashbacks to Hollywood Brown. You know, Mario Williams can be your dude. So
do you think they're going to change Marvin Mims from? I think he was punt return last year. Do you think they're going to put somebody else in for that?
I don't know. That's a game day question. Like, we'll find out who they put back there. I'm sure it's got to be someone.
Would you put like Mario Williams maybe in that situation to get his feet wet a little bit?
Because I was thinking the same thing. Mario Williams, even Drake Stoops, just put him back there so you're not risking Mims or Jaden Hazelwood.
You want to put someone back there you can trust, who has good hands, who's not going to get their.
That's fair.
So that's a very, 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 difficult spot at times, because you're trying to keep your eye on the ball, and then there's this rush cavalcade of people coming after you, and you got to make a split decision. Do I wave my hand for fair catch, or do I try to take this and go? It's a lot different than running routes where you're going one-on-one against someone. All you got to worry about is the corner or maybe the safety like guarding you. So,
right.
Are you going to get alligator arms and go, "Urgh!" and like turn the ball over and give them like give the opposing team good field position? So I don't know. Like, Mims probably will keep it for now. Excuse me. We'll probably keep it for now. But again, it's like we'll see what happens. We'll see what I'm not really too concerned about, punt return or kick return. Like, at the moment, I think you'll see the regulars whoever
so here's
was back there before.
Something you brought up with punt returns, and it made me think of another question. Who do you think was the best like impact transfer at this point? I would say Eric Gray, but is there another player that I've missed entirely? That
Juan Morris.
Juan Morris, you think?
Yeah, I mean, if anything, that gives much more of an impact with that offensive line. If anything, if you do not have Juan Morris, I would just have confidence in the offensive line where it is right now.
Well, Anton Harris would probably be starter then at that point, right?
I mean, if Juan starts, sure. Well, it's got to be the running backs. It's got to be Gray and Bradford, because like if you don't have those guys, you're screwed. You're in big trouble, because one of your running backs that you were hoping to count on this year was an idiot, and along with a certain other someone. Actually, two of them are idiots. So yeah. You lost two idiots, and so the running at this point, just by necessity, you had to have those two guys. You got. I mean, I think Eric Gray is going to Eric Gray was not able to do a whole lot that Tennessee offense, because frankly Tennessee has just been a dumpster fire, and you get a second chance with him. So it's got to be Eric Gray right now. Now, if Key Lawrence, for example, takes a job, and like we finally have playmakers at safety again, I might change my mind. But you desperately needed running backs. Like, you didn't need Key Lawrence, but it's really great to have Key Lawrence. I mean, you probably did kind of need him at the end of the day. You need another body at safety, but you desperately needed two running backs just based on how everything turned out.
What about people like Michael Woods, or I'm looking at the other junior.
Mike Woods to me. Congle's nice, but like Mike Woods is like icing on the cake. Like, I think Mike Woods is gonna flourish in this offense. I mean, his best game last year for Arkansas was against Florida. So it's like, I'm sure he watched show. He's like, oh, they're gonna put up yards against Florida. I could do that. That's where I should go. But all seriousness, yeah, I think Mike Woods is gonna be a big physical receiver for us. Like, he has like what, 1 year? I mean, he might have two. I think he only has one. But even if it's just one, I think there are so many guys that people will just forget about, and then they're going to make a play. I'm like, oh yeah, we have that guy. Like, that's why this year is so exciting, because every time like that happens to me on the defense, like, oh yeah, we still have LaRon Stokes on this team. I completely forgot he existed. That's a good thing, because we know how good he can be when he's healthy. Isaiah Thomas. Oh yeah, we have Isaiah Thomas still. Who knew? I mean, there's rumors he might be a little dinged up, but nothing serious. But it is what it is. But yeah, it's just the running backs to me, without question.
Well, and go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was done.
Oh, I was just going to say, Gavin, you mentioned Wanya. Then here's the flip side of that question. Who do you think was our biggest loss, whether it was due to them screwing up, transfer, grades, however you think? Was there a certain player that you think, like, we wish we could have probably kept him around?
Well, I mean, I was going to maybe go back to what Sean said, though. Like Seth McGowan, no, that was, a huge loss, like especially within that running backs, if anything. That I felt like was a huge loss. But I also felt like, if I remember, losing Ely and Creed, to going into the draft, I was a little uncertain, especially with the fact that, just having that experience, within that O line, I mean, like how you said though too, like having that sort of foundation, for me, because it's like, and this is kind of how I look at it. I'm kind of looking to a little bit of an old school way to where the best way to win is basically winning in the line of scrimmage. And for me, that's kind of where my mentality's at. I mean, yeah, it's nice to have like the guys that are around you, quarterback, receiver, all that. But it's like every snap and every battle is won within that trench right there, with what I call the big guys up front, if anything. Because if you don't have like the caliber or like the basically the consistency that you have, on a week in, week out basis, you're not going to get far every time. And I think losing Creed, and Ely to the draft though too, and yet having Wanye coming back though for the most part though too, kind of does help. And Rayham, sitting, behind for a while though too, who is another Oklahoma kid, too, that's playing center, which, I think it will definitely kind of like give some stability though too. But I want to see how far they go for the most part.
Yeah.
In front of that line. Because, I mean, look, running backs and everything, they're nice to have and everything, but to lose somebody on the offensive line, though, too, because then you're basically having to transfer somebody out, from basically, like, say, Wanye spot and putting them at left guard or, and have to shuffle all of that around, too, and you basically have to go through different techniques and all that.
That's fair. That's fair. Sean, what would you say was our biggest loss for it at that point? Again, whether it's screw up or grades or just transferring to another one.
I mean, you deal with losses every year regardless. I mean, no one returns everybody. So, I mean, I don't think there's anyone like there is anyone who will. I mean, I guess you could say it's Creed, but he had to go. I mean, you knew he was going to go. That's why you got guys like Andrew Rame who are going to be the next big hoss to like, centers becoming a strength for OU when it comes to recruiting. Because now Creed might start for the Chiefs this year. So,
yeah,
for all we know. So, just from a number standpoint, you don't want to lose Seth McGowan, but, like you knew you're going to lose Creed. Like Ely, it's like, maybe you're going to lose and maybe you weren't. We lost, who transferred out? Was it Stacy Wilkins who transferred out? But he wasn't going to play anyway, so I can't really consider that a loss. So
you also had Rambo, but he was sort of kind of declining with his own stock at Oklahoma too, which he's now over at Miami as well.
I mean,
people
are trying to hype up Bridges.
Yeah, but the problem is that when Bridges got on, he just never found himself, over in Oklahoma as much, if anything. I mean, he wasn't really.
But he can never get on the damn field because of like his suspensions and stuff. So it's like he could never get in any rhythm. So, and like there's someone who said like he was the best receiver on this team. I was like, I really don't care at this point with him because it's just I was just so tired of his BS. Because you make one, all the guys who got popped for weed for that Peach Bowl. All right, fine. Y'all made a mistake, and it's stupid that people are still being tested for weed in 2021, let alone 2019. But then you want to be a gangster, or it like just like I'm gonna go over to someone's apartment. Yeah, I can't get over that stuff. I just this is not a good idea.
Why
are you doing this? You
Them being
morons!
knuckleheads. Yeah, it's absolutely them being knuckleheads.
Mhm.
All
I think-
three of you.
Yeah. I would say if I had to pick one, I don't think he was the impact player, but I think we'll miss him as TJ Pledger. I think he would have been a big impact player on the field in the sense
No.
of.
I mean,
Really? You don't think so?
No. I mean, Godspeed, TJ Pledger, and you. I appreciate your service in the Texas game, your time in service, and all you did, but there's a reason you left. If TJ Pledger was going to make an impact, he would not have left.
That's fair. I didn't think of it that way. That's fair.
We would still be here. So I just, unfortunately, we were hype. A certain someone was hyping up Marcus Major as the next AD. Roll my eyes at that. I like Marcus Major to an extent, but it's like certain ex fullback wants you to think like all of his guys are great. It's like, believe in your guys, dude. That's great, but like Adrian Peterson, no.
Okay, then what about the only other one I would have listed was, and he was out 3/4 of the year with his injury after Texas, I think it was Grant Calcaterra.
I mean, Grant left. He's at Auburn or was at Auburn.
Yeah.
I mean,
I thought he was with
He's at
SMU for some.
Is it SMU now? I thought he was at Auburn.
I think
SMU.
it was Auburn, and then he changed to SMU. I think that's what it is. But yeah, he's at
time plus. Honestly, who the biggest loss is, and we're not even talking about him. It's Ramondre Stevenson.
I was gonna say Bradley Hiles, but
no.
Mind you, I am joking on that. No,
I'm glad he's gone because he keeps making stupid mistakes.
You're telling me you didn't like his showboating on the field on a play he wasn't even involved in?
He was a solid football player, and he was very key in that position, but he was not a 5-star by any means. But no, I think if you're watching preseason football, Ramondre is like the biggest loss. I mean, Ramondre was like, imagine like if we had Ramondre all last year, I'm like, Ronnie Perkins would have been the easy answer too. But if we had Ramondre all last year, we don't lose a football game. We don't lose to K-State. We don't lose to Iowa State the first time. We're undefeated. We're in the playoff. I don't know if we win the playoff because, who knows? Like, I think the only team I don't think, like, I don't know if we beat Alabama, we give them a better football game than Ohio State did.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, we give them a much better football game because we're like Ramondre run the football and like who knows how that game turns out. But like, it's just there's always that what if. Like the way that team was playing and humming, like I don't give a damn. I don't care if Florida was missing like half the roster, like some claim they were. We whooped their ass, and I would have loved to have seen what that team would have looked like full strength. We'll never know, but like they weren't missing guys on defense last I checked, and so
no.
Listen, trying to go up against Najee Harris and Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle was not healthy yet. He barely played in the title game. But still, Devontae Smith and Michi or whatever the other guys were, that was going to be a challenge regardless. However, that would whether it was like first round or championship game or whatever, it would have been a hell of a football game because Notre Dame had no business in there, no business in that game.
Well, the other thing that you're mentioning with the SEC, it was that I'm just more of anything too, because usually like Saban has always been known, for being in that defensive minded set and everything. But lately, I've been a little not like over the top or anything, but like somewhat concerned, with the defense and everything of how it's been going within the last few years or so with like some of the games that they've had too, which
wait, with who? With what now?
Yeah, you lost me on that one, Gavin.
I was talking about with Alabama for the most part, because like with the SEC and the conference as a whole and everything, like how it's always talked about, with the SEC and the best defense and everything. I feel like with like the defense within the SEC as a whole, I feel like it's really taken a step back besides Alabama for the most part. It's just sort of,
they have actual legitimate offenses in the SEC now. Like
Yeah, but
the reason they are the way they are is frankly goes back to when we beat Alabama in the Sugar Bowl. That's what started that crap. That's what started that crap, because the days of drop back, pro style, run the football, set up play action, having the AJ McCarron back there, those days are done. Saban don't have those quarterbacks anymore. He don't have those game managers.
Well, also too, let's add in, that's why Mike Stoops actually succeeded, was the old school style stuff that he actually knew how to counter with that.
Oh my God, a quarterback that's not athletic and I can just like rush everybody and make his life hell? Thank you.
Yeah, that was exactly why we succeeded against it. But no, then the rest of the SEC discovered the forward pass. So I mean, what are we supposed to do about that?
So LSU's doing it. They're doing it. So it's not surprising. And Florida's always been like, high-powered offenses over the years. So that's not surprising.
Well, and also don't forget,
but they still put a lot of defensive guys in the league.
Yeah. And also you got Lane Kiffin and Mike Leach now, both in Mississippi right now. In the state right now there and everything. They're going with their air raid offenses and everything. But I'm just saying though too, it's like they're starting to gear more towards like what we've seen over like the last, I would say, like several years or so within the Big 12, in a sense.
Don't worry.
What I'm just saying.
Well, don't worry. They still have some hosses and dudes on defense. I've checked the rankings.
And Gavin, you bring that up, and it makes me think. Do you think it took so long to discover the forward pass? That, joking aside, to discover like the passing game is because it could have been a pride thing that we're better than this, and then now they need to do that to actually compete with Alabama or the LSUs of the world. At this point, they had to move that direction, outside of exceptions to the rule of Lane Kiffin or Mike Leach, where that is their bread and butter. I guess my question was they ignored passing because they thought they were too good for it, but then that's what the game's evolved to at this point. So they have to.
I think it's interesting because if you kind of go back to back towards the mid to late 90s, early 2000s, where the best way to win your games more than anything was to have the strongest defense possible to make sure that nothing was beating you up. I mean, I can go look at like some of the teams that they had to where most of the teams like Alabama during the early parts of their early dynasty that they're in was mostly like 3 yards and a cloud of dust, and of course you have like Julio Jones and stuff like that. But as sort of it's kind of gotten to evolve a little bit, it's starting to see more to where we're starting to see more of a high powered offenses that have been going on, like how we said, like with the example with like Joe Burrow and LSU, or like how the three-headed monster from last year for Alabama, to where they, went on to such a, deep run for the most part too, to where I think if anything, they're starting to put more and more into the offense though too, but still trying to find a way to, for the defenses to basically find a way to counter that. And that is where I feel like, if anything, like the offenses are starting to finally catch up, down in the Southeastern Conference. That's just kind of where I've been just seeing it lately for the last little bit, though, for the most part. Because, I really think, if anything, like, you can talk about like that SEC defense all you want and everything. It's good, to prevent team from getting other points. But if you don't have an offense, that can basically, put it to where it's impossible for the other team to score, then you're just basically going to just, start showing cracks and everything to where, how to beat them, if anything.
Yeah.
And I think it's just sort of that evolution of the game, to where they're finally starting to catch up more than anything.
Yeah, see, I always had it where I was thinking it was just a pride thing that they ignored it, but now as time has gone by, they've just had to switch to it because they didn't have to change for it. So here's my next question for you at this point for either of you. It's something I was thinking on was, Sean, you mentioned about Texas's O-line having a lot of problems right now. I guess my question would be is, we could talk schedule, we could talk players. What is Texas's strength at the moment? Where are they actually like they're fine at that position, a position that we need to like not look over at this point. And I know that could be a reach at this point with their first year head coach, and you could say that about any team. But is there a position that they're actually
their starting running back is really good? That should have been on
Yeah,
Oklahoma.
beyond
That should have been on Oklahoma's roster if it wasn't for Jay Boulware just failing horribly as a recruiter.
Robertson,
Robertson?
Robertson, yeah.
Bijan, frankly, could have been. Oh, you could have easily gotten him, easily, and that's what's kind of frustrating.
Yeah,
Because we got lazy and didn't keep in contact with Chase, and that was always a threat. Like, but yeah, I mean, the problem for Bijan Robinson, he's got no one to block for him. So
yeah.
listen, Bijan's going to get 1,000 yards, just based on who their competition is. But like all this, like, oh my God, Bijan Robinson's going to just like, you're gonna wear that poor kid out. He's gonna be done by the end of the season. So, I mean, I'm sure he's gonna be used a lot more, and like Sark is gonna try to come up with creative ways of getting in the ball because like running off tackle is not gonna work against Oklahoma. Like that O-line, they are going to destroy that O-line if it doesn't see massive improvement by the time they get to Dallas in October. So,
and yet they're going to make it a game because that's how it's been the past how many years?
Let's see, 2018, 2019, 2017, 2020. So like the last 4, you can maybe go back all the way maybe to 2014, I would say. So like the past, like ever since, so like, OU winning, by a squeaker, 2015, where Texas, beats them out, in a hard fought game and, OU losing to Texas right there. 2016 with the second half high scoring shootout. 2017 with Baker in that wheel route to Andrews. 2018 the almost comeback by Kyler. 2019 which I would call CD's breakthrough, and then 2020 the 4 or 5 overtimes. I don't know how many counts. I mean, it's like it's always going to be ending up a hard fought game, no matter who you're rooting for more than anything.
And I mean, that's actually and that's something that makes me think of it too. Was what about Kansas State? Because I'll be honest, I thought Kansas State with Chris, I think it's Kleiman is how you pronounce his last name.
Yeah.
And then Scott Frost, I thought it was going to be the flip, and that Scott Frost was going to be the one successful, and Chris was going to have the difficulties, and it's gone the exact opposite from it. So what about Kansas State? Where's that one position? Because they've given us trouble for 2 years. I don't think we're going to overlook them at all, but there has to be a skill position that they're doing pretty well at, or at least
their backfield.
Yeah, like Deuce Vaughn, for Kansas State, that's someone I really want to keep an eye on more than anything.
Skyler will hopefully be healthy for them like all year.
Oh yeah, but I've got to say, like Deuce Vaughn, he had a breakout game against Oklahoma, and he's the one I really want to keep an eye on more than anything. Because, well, and I don't know what the heck and everything else though too, because he was pretty much like one of their star backs for the most part, from what I remember last year, and he basically kind of gave like our defense fits for the most part. I just really think, if anything else though too, he is going to be the one player I think, besides Skyler, he's going to be the one that's going to be really the one to watch. In fact, I think if I remember, I think he had a family that also was in the NFL as well. Okay, well, his stat line might not be impressive, but he basically rushed for 642 yards and basically received like 434 yards as well too. So like in total, he had 1,000 yards last season for both rushing and receiving. To where he can do whichever way. If you put him out and receiver, he'll do fine. If he's in the backfield, he'll do fine as well too. But he has like some pretty good vision, and he pretty much knows how to play the game to where I think it might cause some issues for anything, for the OU defense. That's kind of the only one player I think would kind of keep an eye on for Kansas State.
And this makes me bounce back and forth too. Is there any any surprise game that you think that we're saying like preseason, oh, that's going to be we're going to roll over and make surprises? Because the only game I really have circled with that would be TCU. I mean, Baylor, I think they're aware of Baylor, but I think TCU is going to be that game.
It'll be interesting to see what TCU looks like.
Well, the thing is that TCU has always been hyped up on their defense for the most part. I'm just going to be more interested within like that OU offense, and I'm thinking, if I remember correctly, like Chandler Morris, might be starting. If I'm not mistaken.
I think he's going to start. Yeah, I think he's going to absolutely start.
I think Duggan or however.
Oh yeah, Duggan's still over there too, so that would be very interesting. But if I remember, they also had like a transfer 5-star, as well too. That's out in their backfield. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. For TCU.
Oklahoma's able to beat them soundly on the road in a pandemic, mind you, but they beat them soundly with basically just a passing game. So
TCU.
But,
it's after Texas, though. Kind of also too why I kind of circled that game.
Well, but it's at home, and that's gonna be a lot easier to deal with than having to like go to North Texas in back-to-back weeks. So you'll have those tiny little creature comforts and everything will help out in the end, in my opinion. So if there might be, it all depends how good Texas is and what kind of game that turns into. If the Texas game turns into like a business trip and OU just goes in there and takes care of business, something I haven't done in years, but this feels like the year that OU should walk into that game, and you don't need a 55-17 game, but it would be nice if they walked into the fourth quarter or walked out of the fourth quarter with a convincing win. Like, they've been way overdue for beating Texas convincingly. Like a 3-score win. Like, you get to the fourth quarter and, Texas making that comeback late, because like they always seem to do, or they keep it close.
Let's see. Last time that happened was in 2012. Went to 63-21.
Yeah. Yes. At that game, it was fun.
Like from 2014 on, it's been a 1-score game. Like, however it ends, it's been a 1-score game. Like,
absolutely.
So can OU go in there this year? And because like I don't know who these people are who are trying to hype up Sark in year one. Like, if you want to get excited about
Isn't
Sark,
that what they always do with Texas?
Yes, of course they do. But what I'm saying is that I don't know what you're honestly expecting from Texas this year. No one should be expecting anything from Texas this year. Like, everyone's trying to think, like there's a lot of question marks of how they're going to do their first couple games. Yeah. Like, can they beat Louisiana? Can they beat Arkansas on the road? Can they beat TCU? They can't beat TCU to save their lives.
And that's something that's been going back and forth. And I want to ask all that. Who has a better chance of winning their game? Texas against Louisiana, or losing their game? Texas versus Louisiana, or Nebraska versus Illinois? And I'm serious on that. I really do believe both of those teams are in trouble.
Okay, I will say this. Like, I think with Nebraska, they have a little bit more of a sustainable chance because Illinois is just not that good for the most part. I think Louisiana beating Texas is more realistic in a sense because Louisiana had like a heck of a season last year as well.
Like if Sark wants to like get people a little excited, if Texas finds a way to win that game convincingly, it will take so much weight off of their shoulders. Because a lot of people are expecting that to be a game, and that is the worst thing in the world is to be a school like Texas where there is expectations every year, and your first game at home against your non-conference, non-Power 5 team is, that might be a game. Got to be careful about that one. Like, no one wants to feel that. Could you imagine if Oklahoma felt that against a group of 5 school walking in? It's like, oh man, we gotta be careful about that one.
To be fair to us for that, we did have that because it was like that stretch from like 2009 to 2014 where that first game was always like, they're gonna make it close or it's gonna be within a touchdown because
but that means your program is not in a good place right now. And for all due respect, BYU was
I don't count BYU because we lost Bradford. That I don't count that.
Okay, like which game are you talking about? Like
Utah State.
Yeah, but no one expected that. That came out of nobody walked in and like, my God, you got to watch out for Utah State. No one was saying that.
Yeah,
that's different. I'm talking about people in the preseason are saying you better circle Louisiana.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, okay. I'm saying more like
I'm not saying it out of nowhere because teams fall asleep and have that trouble sometimes. But I'm talking about like the worst feeling in the world is when people believe that a group of 5 school is going to walk into a school like Texas and maybe beat you. Like, and unfortunately, just based on where both of those teams are right now, it's like, yeah, guess what?
Well, and that's why I was curious on that.
And people think Arkansas are going to beat you. Arkansas has been trash.
No, Arkansas is
yeah.
terrible.
In fact, I was looking at the line spread between Louisiana and Texas, and it's only like an 8-point spread at this point right now.
North Texas beat Arkansas.
Yeah, Arkansas is bad. They're I mean, I'm probably reaching saying this. They're Kansas bad. They got problems. They have
they're not Kansas bad. But they're just not good. And people are buying into Sam Pittman a little bit, but
yeah, basically Arkansas and then Kansas at this point, you know.
Well, Kansas is running the triple option this year with Leopold, so we'll see what happens with it.
Oh gosh.
Yeah,
I do not want to see a triple option again, as far as I'm concerned. To be honest.
Well, you're not, because this will be the only time you see it, because hopefully we'll be out of the Big 12 after this year.
Oh,
as you know, that's something too, and I do want to circle back to Iowa State and Oklahoma State in a sec. But do you think with any news from that? Do you see that still being that, or is it looks like it's going to be 2023? Because it's kind of been silent the past 2 weeks on that.
Well, of course it's silent because like everyone's trying to figure out what the hell's going on. Like you got the new alliance thing happening. That's gonna... No. I mean,
it's funny. No. I'm sorry. It makes me laugh.
Well, no. I mean that's a real thing because we need to figure out what are the details behind all this thing and like what is the whole. Okay, what is your plan? What is your mission statement with all of this? Because people can speculate, but like we're going to hopefully find out sometime this week like what their whole deal is going to be, and ESPN is going to get involved and try to figure out like because they're going to try to get OU and Texas in the SEC as quick as possible.
Absolutely.
And I'm just the guys like, look, if you guys could just write a check and make it go away, please do it. But there's this idea is like, well, the rest of those teams are going to like do everything they can to hold them to their contract to the end. And that's not healthy for anyone because like they can still have the grant of rights like over their head still, which, thank you, David Bourne, for signing that fucking thing. Anyway.
My understanding is it's unenforceable, but that's legal.
Well, no, it's unenforceable if one or two schools find a home, the conference is dead. It's like dissolved. Like there is no conference. That's why I'm like, hey, Kansas, like, hey, Big Ten, get Kansas basketball. You want to.
Well, and that's where I say I don't think it's enforceable because let's be honest, if this alliance does happen, which is still weird because I think it's the ACC was trying to be part of that alliance unless I read it wrong with it.
They are.
Which is weird because they're with ESPN, but whatever there. I find it weird, though, because to me, the signal was Big 12's done. There should be any school.
Well, no, the Big 12 is done regardless. Well, the Big 12 is done regardless. No one's going to join the Big 12.
Not anymore. No. See, and that's the thing that's been driving me nuts, where they're like, oh, Boise State's interested. They're not calling Boise State. BYU, they're not calling BYU, guys. Just let it go. Let it go. Let it go.
Whenever I hear people say Boise State, she's like, someone would have picked Boise State by now. You think?
Yeah, no.
You think by now, after 15 years of like doing what they did, someone would have picked up Boise State by now. No one's picking up Boise State. Nobody wants Boise State. It was really
they don't have a market.
Listen, it was really cool. They won a Fiesta Bowl in like, classic college football, oh my God, fashion that you're going to play the highlights for the rest of our fucking lives. Sorry. But
that's your one.
but it's just, no. It's never going to happen. I was like, oh, like Cincinnati. Like, I had people tell me, it's like, all should have been all these teams should have been in the Big 12. And it's like, no, they shouldn't have. No, they shouldn't have. Like, I'm sorry.
You and I have gone back and forth on that, Sean, where it was like BYU. No, because this is the one that drives me nuts. They're like, they're going to get BYU. No, they're not going to get BYU because they're not going to play on Sundays. And they've made that
I
clear.
never wanted. I never wanted any of these teams in the league. Like Houston and BYU. I was like, no, I don't want any of these teams.
It was never going to be Houston because Houston has the recruiting grounds. They were never going to allow that to happen.
Well, no, the sad part is they came close to getting Houston, but it was most of the other 8 schools that didn't want it. OU and Texas were on board, believe it or not.
And so was Tech. They were on board.
Yeah, Tech was on board, but like the rest, like, no, we want to do that. So you know what? Screw this. So it's like when the original Big 12 was like fractured, it was over. It was like you were on like you were on kidney dialysis for the rest of your life or something like that. You were going
absolutely.
You suffered a massive brain damage and it was a matter of time or whatever. It's like it was never ever going to happen. Just
absolutely.
Like,
well, I think the only school that I would say would have fit in and it would have been fine with Cincinnati. They don't really bring
with who? What?
Cincinnati when they were wanting in out of the
it would have been about Cincinnati.
Virginia.
No, it was turning into this like zombie conference. There was nothing like that was the thing that sucked about the Big 12. Like we had one legit game that had like monetary that had value to like everyone else. OU Texas. That's it.
Yeah.
That's what sucks about the Big 12. You think I never like watching Big 12 football games that don't involve Oklahoma. There's like a very small handful of games I would watch. I watched Texas, Oklahoma State, Baylor and TCU when they were good, but like I never went out of my way to watch Big 12 football. There was other good games to watch. I'd watch the SEC. I'd watch the Big 10. Or Pac-12 games I'd rather watch. But like because there's history and tradition behind a lot of these other schools and rivalries. It's like I'm not going to watch Iowa State, K-State on a random Saturday. I'm glad I don't have to do that anymore once we join the SEC.
Well, that's why
finally.
I think
it's there's a reason the Big 12 just sucks as a conference to watch football games at times.
Well, it's boring too. Like it's just boring just in general. As you said, outside of OU Texas, Oklahoma State, Texas, I would go as far to say Oklahoma State and OU for the sole fact that they've always had exciting games with it, even though you know what the outcome.
I mean, if there was like a highly ranked matchup, like if Iowa State and Oklahoma State were like top 15-ish, I'd watch to an extent, but like just to watch a game unless it was like a non-conference matchup, I wasn't going to watch these games. I'm not going to watch these teams.
Exactly. Well, and so, by the way, something to mention, and Sean and Gavin, feel free to correct me on it, with Boise State, by the way, wasn't it that they were trying to cater to the Pac-12 and then they went with Utah, if I'm remembering it correctly?
Pac-12 never wanted them.
No, I don't think. No, Boise.
The Pac-12 is like an academic snobbish thing, like the Big Ten. Like Boise State does not fall under that category at all.
Gotcha. I thought for whatever reason I was thinking like they did that and then passed on it for Utah, not Utah State, just Utah. So the stories get mixed up. So anyway, though, but yeah, that was just Boise State and BYU and Houston, all that. Where speaking of when we're talking about the Texas schools as well, kind of the segue back, where do you think Baylor's going to end up?
Hopefully in a gutter.
Well, absolutely, but
I would say maybe the American, maybe.
Oh no! I mean, what their record's going to be this year? Like, is the expectation?
In a gutter, hopefully.
Well, yeah. I feel like they're kind of the most unknown because they're going to be either a good middle of the ground team or they're going to be the second worst in the conference.
I would say maybe 5-6 wins. You know, I would say probably is my best bet. You know, either 5 or 6 wins.
Yeah.
I hope Dave Aranda gets a new job quickly.
You think that's going to come here soon, within this year or next year?
I mean, I'm sure he's will entertain offers if he does anything remotely impressive this year, he will definitely entertain those offers.
Do you think what's his name? It's the quarterback they just named, Gary. Oh, his last name's escaping me. Do you think he's going to be an impact player for Baylor?
I have no idea what Baylor's going to do this year.
I don't either.
I'll pay attention a little bit before we end up playing them later in the year. Just keep an eye on them. But like,
Gotcha.
Harry Bohannon.
Yeah, Bohannon. Thank you. I was escaping me. I was curious because I'm like, I feel it's a little weird that they're naming it 2 weeks before.
they don't have any offensive talent that scares me right now. So
Gotcha.
Yeah.
What about Oh, go ahead, Gavin.
Oh no, I was just agreeing with Sean.
Gotcha. What about Oklahoma State? I mean, I penciled that in as just an easy win at this point because nothing they do have they excel at. There's nothing on paper that worries me.
Do they still have that C- quarterback? Cedric Sanders.
They do. They do. And they're really hyping.
He's still starting.
Well, and Gavin, you can attest to this. They're trying to hype him up.
Remember when they were remember when they were going to win a national title last year? Remember that?
And the year before that. And the year before that. And
Well,
the year before that.
No, last.
Well, the problem I'm having though, it's that we've had hit a plateau with Gundy at this point.
Absolutely.
And don't get me wrong, he's taken him to where they have never gone before, but I just don't think he's going to take him to that next level, which, that's kind of been the issue of where he's at right now. And that's something that I've said. I mean, look, he's been doing good. He's got a couple of 10, I would say just like a handful of 10-win seasons as far as I remember. And then, of course, basically I've gotten him conference title. And then, of course, done things to where Oklahoma State has never been in a position before. But
it's what Sean has always said, Gavin, and not to take the words from you, Sean, he can't recruit. He refuses to recruit.
No. So they can't. He refuses to try to recruit against anybody worth a damn, and like that's one way to go about it, I guess. He can get some skill players from time to time. I mean, I'll never understand why Chuba Hubbard came back that extra year. He destroyed, like he ruined, like he should have left when he was hot. Absolutely. He was a 4th round pick of the NFL draft and a 5th round pick of the CFL draft. And right now, he's with the Panthers right now, but he cost himself money by coming back.
But I would just only say, if anything, and this is just, going from this season, I would have him maybe either at 6, maybe a 7-win season for Oklahoma State. That's kind of where
I go 8-5. I think
you would go 8. You would go 8.
Yeah. I go 8. I think it's going to be average because they're going to be still at the upper end of the Big 12 with it. That's kind of the weird part.
Yeah, I really don't know. I mean, it's like I want to go 8, but I'm not sure with the tailback situation. So that's kind of where I'm between the 6 and 7. Like between the 6 7-win season. That's kind of where my whole issue is, because
go ahead.
Because I just feel like I really don't know much about these running backs at all. Because it's like if anything, like I would be fine. If they had like some good, like you said with like Chubb or some, the running backs that they've had before. But I just really just don't feel comfortable, putting them up in that top, if their rushing game, proves to be an importance, within Oklahoma State. That's kind of where I'm at.
Absolutely. I think it's also at this point too with it. I think you're kind of spot on is where when is Gundy going to actually leave at this point with it? Because to me, his coaching is now.
He's never leaving. They're going to keep paying him money.
Okay. When is he going to be pushed out at this point? I guess
he's never, because they don't know. They don't know what to do. He's the best coach they've ever had, and they don't know what to do after the fact.
Well,
like think about it. But think about it. Their future is very scary right now because nobody wants them in a power league. So you're gonna get you're gonna get rid of Gundy, and for what? Because you're now being relegated into mid-major status potentially. Like that's scary. That's why everyone's mad. Like they are not, like Gundy's going to stay. They will keep him for as long as possible.
And that's something I said too was first off, I think Oklahoma State's kind of in that realm where it's like where we were at, where people are kind of scared to pull that trigger at this point of let's move on from, like, for us, it was Bob. let's get someone who wants to recruit. Let's get someone who will energize the base. I think Oklahoma State's at that point too, where they're scared of the next results with it, and I think that obviously their prospects are much slimmer. And I said years ago when Scott Frost and Chris Kleiman were both, I think they were both up at the same year. They needed to get one of them, and I think Chris was wanting to go to Oklahoma State, and then it all fell through at that point, and they've lost that opportunity. There's no coach.
Even if Gunny leaves and you get a new upcoming coach who does something, he's just gonna leave for a better job after the fact. Like Matt Campbell is a unicorn. Like how
Absolutely.
How he has stayed and he signed an extension with Iowa State. I don't get it, but props to him. But now it gets more scary for Iowa State if they don't get into a big league, because now it's like, oh, Matt Campbell, you might want to.
Yeah,
you just got relegated with that program down. Like, remember when you had a Power 5 job and now you don't anymore? Like,
well, wasn't it Matt Campbell extended though before all this stuff came?
Right,
well,
but
he was.
But you can buy out contracts easy. That's easy.
That's fair. That's
fair. Yeah, because there was I think the Detroit Lions was actually interested in Campbell before the extension, if I'm not mistaken. As a head coaching job over there.
Oh God, they got themselves. The Lions got themselves a character as head coach.
And that's Sean. You and I talked about this a while back, but it's funny because are we kind of at the point where Iowa State is a better job than some of these NFL jobs?
No, are you kidding me?
I'm saying as an in general at the moment with
not as an in general thing. No,
I'm talking more of is him staying at Iowa State a better gig versus going to Detroit or another place where
wait. Did you say that Iowa State is a better job than an NFL? No.
For very few NFL talents.
No. Not even. No. Like, we're not talking about being the head coach at Notre Dame or Oklahoma. We're talking about Iowa State.
Oh, I know that. I'm just saying for the very lowly NFL team now, would you take any NFL team over at that point? Like Detroit?
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
All right.
I was thinking of it as I wouldn't take it there's a few NFL teams that I would not consider. Detroit would be one of them with it. I'd borderline say the Cowboys at this point.
You can win in Detroit if you're a competent head coach who could draft and can, and everything.
Then again, look at what Arizona has with Cliff Kingsbury over in Arizona.
Yeah, they're a borderline playoff team. They make the playoffs if Kyler doesn't get hurt in that last game.
You're right. You're proving me wrong. You're right. I guess I'm thinking
remember when the Cleveland Browns sucked? They don't anymore. Yeah. They don't anymore. No. So
you're a threat.
You can win in Detroit. It's been proven. They're not Super Bowl contenders every year, but with Stafford and Calvin Johnson's, you can win and make the playoffs in Detroit. So it's there are no bad NFL jobs. They're NFL jobs for a reason. The reason certain jobs are bad is because maybe the ownership and the people, the general managers, but those people
the Cowboys.
Cowboys isn't a bad job. Cowboys is a great job. Dallas Cowboys is the football job that everyone cares about.
Right, but you have to appease to Jerry Jones, and a lot of coaches have passed on that.
Problem is that Jerry Jones micromanages every little detail that goes on.
Jerry ain't gonna live forever, so.
What am I wrong? They're going to put him in a Futurama jar at that point, and he's still going to be running the program.
Well, Jerry is at least doing the right thing and putting Jimmy in the Ring of Honor this year at some point, because he got over that. He got over that freaking hurdle.
I mean, that ego with Jerry is just so huge to where I think Jerry's head is about bigger than the size of Texas itself.
I mean, every time they win, get the parade going.
Well, Dallas. I have no expectations for Dallas this year because Dak is like screwed with his shoulder right now. So
yeah, that's going to be the major question.
His shoulder's fine. Whatever.
Well, but here's the problem.
Arm is off his body, but it's fine.
CeeDee Lamb's
the problem I have though with the Cowboys is not just with the Cowboys itself, but the entire division that they're in, which is terrible. I mean, I'm just saying this right now. That division right now with what the Cowboys is in so bad of a dumpster fire to where I don't know if it's going to be savable or not, if anything.
But haven't you heard Jalen Hurts is like the next great NFL quarterback in Philly, so it's all good.
So Lincoln Riley made him an NFL quarterback.
Well, yeah, of course he did.
Yep,
absolutely. So what you're telling me is
sure as hell wasn't Nick Saban.
No, it was not. No,
yeah, because Tua's working out real well right now.
What is going on with Tua? I actually haven't paid attention with Tua.
I don't know. I don't buy Tua.
You live in Florida and you do not hear about the news about the Dolphins.
I live in Orlando. I don't care about what happens in Miami.
You mean the Sun Whales, right?
Down the road
I live in Orlando. As far as I know, Miami will be underwater in 2 weeks. The way things are going in the world. Are you kidding me? I don't care what happens in Miami.
You'll just have boat. You'll have waterfront property at that point.
Disney will have beachfront property soon. You kidding me?
You're telling me they're not already? Yeah, actually, you're right. They don't have the beachfront property just yet.
Yeah, just give it a few more decades. Polar ice caps will melt, and Disney will finally have beachfront. Everything.
It's a small world underwater. Well, I had one more question for y'all. Iowa State. What do you think in Iowa State with it this year? You mentioned Iowa, of course.
Don't lose to Iowa, and I'll believe you.
Gavin, you told me last week they play at Iowa State. Do you think that gives them any type of advantage at all?
The only thing is that and this is something that I've, feel like with anything is that the only team that would get in way of Iowa State's way is basically Iowa State. And I'm just saying this because, like, if anything, and we've seen this before to where Iowa State, would be so much on the cusp of it right there, but then they basically get in their own way, and it's like we've seen this happen so many times to where I think like the last time that Iowa State versus Iowa, I'm just kind of looking up real quick though too, like basically just like somewhat of the history of the rivalry. The last time Iowa State even beat Iowa was back in 2014.
Yeah,
and it's and it's like I've kind of been to the point to where like. When are you guys going to be getting over that hump? Because for me, it's like I just do not know if, Iowa State's going to be able to basically get over that. And that's, to me, one of the biggest issues that I have because it's like, I mean, they could do really great within the conference and all that. But unless you can prove it with the big dogs, too, like especially with your in-state rival who's supposed to be like a Big Ten prestige school for the most part, I just do not see them getting over that hump with Iowa, which that is, where I think is going to be trouble with Oklahoma. I mean, you want Iowa State to win that game, yes, but the problem is they've always gotten in their own way. In fact, and I'm just saying this too, like, and I'm just taken back, like, if you remember, like, I believe it was 2019. That 2-point conversion, and they basically shot themselves in the foot where, Purdy had that open pass and everything for, in the 2-point conversion. Instead, it shows a harder throw in the back of the end zone.
Speaking of Purdy, by the way, with it, they're really hyping him up as like.
Here's the thing. He, and I'm not saying exactly the same, but it kind of has like I would say. And I'm just going back from memories from like the next great quarterback that there was, but they did said the same thing about Seneca Wallace, if you remember, and this was like back in the early 2000s.
No one was alive then.
Yeah,
exactly. Anything before 30s,
Yeah. So that's the only maybe other Iowa State quarterback that was somewhat successful for the most part. From as far as I can gather though too, because that's the only other time to where I feel like they've gotten that. Now, like Brees Hall, that is going to be where I think the most challenge, if anything, because he's, I think, if I'm not mistaken, like a unanimous first team All American, and he's going to be somebody that I think is going to be somebody to watch, to where, yeah, they'll have a good ground game because you put like I don't know, like 8 or 9 bodies on the line of scrimmage, on the old school days or so.
Right,
And
right.
it's just kind of where I look at it to where, it's like if you basically take away their run game, for the most part, too, then, you could maybe get something that, but, Purdy does have some experience for the most part, which has been doing pretty good for him at times. And then at other times when he feels the pressure, he's sort of, where, he's shaken a little bit for the most part.
He's deer in the headlights.
Yeah.
Absolutely
So,
deer in the headlights.
yeah, I'm not saying he's not a great quarterback, but it's just like, if anything, I would just, see him, see a little bit more of that ice in his veins. That's kind of where I feel like that part is just missing from him, if anything. That's the only thing. Like Spencer Rattler, I mean, he's got like some freshman nerves and something, which is expected, but he still has like that ice in his veins, and carries with that confidence for the most part. So, and I think if anything too, and I think this is going to be something where I feel like too, and this has always been a key matchup with me with like Iowa State. It's always been like the DBs versus the wide receivers, with Oklahoma. And because I know everybody talks about the line of scrimmage. And the only reason I put this up because like for years and years and years, Iowa State has gotten receivers like I can remember that are like 6'4", 6'5", 6'6", going up against DBs for OU, which were like 5'10", 5'11", or 6 foot at best. And I think if anything else though too, it's like they basically have like the size advantage, and yet there was like at times to where it just couldn't be capitalized for that Oklahoma defense because that size mismatch. I mean, speed is one thing, but the size, that was something that always, had me more worried than anything else.
Yeah, but until they prove it on the field, I mean, it may just be a repeat again of next year or last year with it. So who knows? Who knows?
Yeah,
I do know that.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, Iowa State, I would see will, kind of be in that top of the conference with Oklahoma, but I just do not know if Purdy will, be, that, basically that, wow, he has arrived moment, though, because it's like,
No,
he's
not
good,
at all.
but yeah, I mean, he's good, but I just don't know if he's even going to arrive at that point. That's my main issue. Do I think he's probably one of like the best quarterbacks around? He's. It's like
I wouldn't even go that far. Honestly,
I wouldn't say that, but he has like like some potential, but that's about it.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So we'll see. All right, let's wrap this up, guys. Let's wrap this up. So,
okay, before we go, I want to just say James Lill here has been wanting us about these point spreads and everything for a while.
I know we did those.
Gambling's bad for you. You shouldn't gamble.
I mean, we kind of talked about it last week with the matchups, and we said you pick your games. Like we're not gonna pick your game for you. We think we know who's gonna win, but that's all on you at that point with it. But I mean, I don't think it's changed. I would still take the same thing I mentioned last week with it. With if I had to pick and stuff with it, let's see. I picked Nebraska still. I don't think they're going to be a touchdown favorite if I recall my stuff last week with it.
Yeah.
I still picked UTEP over New Mexico State. I don't know if I would take the under with UCLA and things like that. Like my stuff hasn't changed from last week with it, but again,
yeah, mine hasn't either.
Mine's not a betting one with that. So that being said, Sean, is there one game that I had one question for you as we wrap up? Hawaii versus UCLA. Do you think if Chip Kelly loses this game, his job is toast at this point at UCLA?
Chip Kelly is still coaching.
As far as I'm aware he's at UCLA. Am I off?
Oh, who knew that? Who knew?
Yeah. I think if anything, I think he is still. Yes, he still is.
Yeah, he's still there. It's his 4th season there. So, okay. Then that being said, with it, is there one football game you're going to watch this coming weekend that's going to get your football fix before going into week 1? Any game at all?
No.
High school, Norman North
No.
is Norman North. Gavin, what is there any game?
Right now, not
Just one
really a
game.
whole. Oh man, I mean, are you just talking about like any game at this point for the most part?
Any game. Yeah, just any one game.
And it's hard to say, but if I'm trying to remember right now, and I'm just kind of going from local here to, I think Tulsa Union is actually getting ready for their first matchup coming up real soon. I believe it's against one of the schools in Texas, if I'm not mistaken. So, it's going to be very interesting to see how that, plays out, if anything. Because, Union's kind of considered one of the favorites to win the state again, for the most part, in the largest class division that they have.
Yeah, I mean, it's bad when the high school games are more interesting right now than the actual college games that are happening, especially when it's sad when you have Nebraska who's actually playing. So I do want to thank everybody for joining tonight. Just remember, I appreciate everybody joining in, comment, rate, subscribe. My goal is still to hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. It's bold, but I still want to really, really try to reach that goal. As a reminder too, next week we're going to have kind of just a preview of week 1 at this point and kind of get any additional thoughts we didn't cover here. I don't really think there's anything left at this point, but we may have some extra stuff at that point. But Sean, do you want to give a shout out to your channel? Any shameless plugs or anything for it? Any project coming up?
I have nothing to shout out. Nothing.
Okay. Gotcha. Gavin, I know you don't have a channel or anything like that as well, but I appreciate you coming on tonight. So as we reminded everybody, if you can, get vaccinated because Delta's running rampant and it just keeps going up. We're not sure if it's plateauing at the moment, but hey, I openly encourage everyone to get vaccinated. And same thing as I always say at the end, just remember, treat the planet kindly, keep everybody, treat the planet kindly. Just remember that we only have one. So again, thank you all for joining tonight. Boomer Sooner, and we'll see everybody next week.
Peace.